Hey you guys, welcome to Parent Cafe Live. Today we're going to talk about power struggles and so what being assertive does in your power struggle relationship with your child. So the reason we talk about being assertive because there's two other types of language we can use that aren't as effective. So we can be passive and or aggressive. So when we're parenting and we get upset, are we really being calm and thoughtful and intentional about what we're doing with our kids? I know I'm not. I'm just reacting. So I have to give myself the permission to take a deep breath and know that I need to meet my kid where they're at, and they can't organize their emotions, not as well as I can, or definitely shouldn't be able to as well as I can. So it's my job to do that. Does it mean I do it all the time? No. I wish it did. I wish with all my heart that I could do this every single time, but I lose my patience and I often get aggressive and maybe I'm really tired and I'll get passive. So being passive gives your child some wiggle room because they're not being told what to do. It sounds more like a question. And we are coming off as kind of weak and not the authoritative one. So they're going to push boundaries with that and not do exactly what we want. And we haven't been super clear with them either. So their little brain's like, well, I think I can do it the way I want to. They didn't say I couldn't, right? So if we are say something like, could you please just sit still? Most likely that's not going to work. Why don't you get your chores done? It's not assertive enough, right? So then we can go to the aggressive. And aggressive, it often feels threatening. When we're being aggressive, we are doing it with our whole body. So when we're doing these different types of language, so assertive, aggressive, and passive, it's the tones of our voice as well as the tone of our body. So back to passive, when we're saying those things and maybe we're tired, maybe we're trying to avoid a fight because we just don't have it in us to, circumvent a tantrum. We don't want them to be upset. Maybe we don't want them to wake somebody up, or who knows? There's lots of things and reasons why we do that. But we look unsure. We look anxious. And our kids pick up on that and they're going to find the holes in it. And with aggressive, again, we're showing that with us, like our visual appearance. So our eyes might be like this and our teeth are going to be kind of like this. And we're trying really hard not to yell. And maybe we are yelling. But we're trying not to yell. And because we are still trying to maintain some sort of control, that's just how it's coming out. Because we want compliance and we want it now. Right? So sometimes kids get scared of us. I have never hit my child and he is afraid. When I get really aggressive, he gets afraid of me. And I don't know if it's just because I don't do that very often. And so it's new for him when he sees it. But like when I'm aggressive, I am like way up here over my limit. Like I have had it. Like I can't believe we're fighting this round again. And there's a huge power struggle there. And so the fear reaction, they learn to be afraid of you for that. But not because they did something wrong, right? They just don't want you to know what they did so that they're not going to trigger that response again. So when we are living in a fear-based, when we're in reacting to that, where are we at in our brain? What level, right? We're in the survival level. We're down here. That's a whole nother step into emotion. And if we get past fear, we're really upset and we're frantic and we just don't understand and we're scared and we're crying. And then the kids aren't up here, right? And we're not up there either. We're not thinking that way. So nothing comes out the way we want to. Like we have intent to get compliance, but we just want compliance in our home. We just want, our values and the things that the rules we have laid out in our house to happen. and they're not, and we're frustrated and we're in the emotional state, and that's all coming out. So to be assertive, you can still be straightforward. Aggressive tends to use some extra language that doesn't need to be in there. When we're being assertive, we're calm. We say things matter-of-factly, like we're very straightforward. Giving like the steps is nice. We're gonna name them, the child, because then they're very clear that we're talking to them. We are going to use the action verb, describing what we want them to do, right? And then we're gonna paint the picture, and we're gonna paint the picture by explaining. So that action word, like put, walk, remove, give me, give, because me is not an action verb, right? We'll use those, and then we'll name whatever they're going to be doing. And then when we're doing this, we often need to take some active calming steps and take some breaths and remember, because we want our brain to be up here, right? We want our brain to be able to navigate the next steps. So let's say it's the morning time and you're getting ready to leave. So my son's name's Aiden. So I would say, Aiden, you need to turn the TV off with the remote and get your shoes on and meet me at the back door. That's pretty straightforward. He has no choice. Those are the things he's doing. Now, if you say them like this, Aiden, turn that TV off with the remote and get into the back room with your shoes on. That sounds threatening, and then they're like panicked versus willing to comply. So when we are calm, they're just like, oh, mom's serious, time to do this. I'm gonna go do it now. My son's, it's hit or miss if he's gonna be super compliant. He may try to have a debate with me about like why he doesn't need to put his shoes on or what they are, but then I just repeat it again. And it's a lot less emotional in our morning routines now that I've been practicing as much mindfulness and active breathing and calming as I can, and doing this really assertive way of parenting. So I don't know if it was because he was so little or why, but I often would try to do things and I came off as very passive. And I feel like kids can sniff out your weakness, and I mean, they just learn how to get things any way they can, and you know, they are emotional, and like it's not like they're malicious about it or anything. It's just kind of the nature of being a human. And when you are a weaker parent, you're not asserting your authority in the home, your role as the parent. They look at ways that like they're going to respond that way. If you are asserting your dominance in the home very aggressively, you're going to get that fear. Versus just being assertive, you can be calm. You're not really being kind or mean. It's like the in-between of kind and mean. You're just stating what needs to be done, and that's what's going to be done. And you have grounded yourself as that authoritative figure in the home without having to use fear to do it. It was a big balance for me to learn. And it's hard. It's hard to change how you've always done things. But as soon as you start, it does come more easily. It's not that I don't ever get aggressive or passive, because sometimes I still do. And it is easier if there's more than one caregiver in the home, because you guys can take turns. Sometimes you get exhausted by your kids. So if you are, a single parent, or your spouse is deployed or something like that, there's lots of different, ways our families are made up. Just get some supports. Like, don't be afraid to tap people in. Like, even if it's a phone call. So let's say you're separated and you're co-parenting. The sooner you guys get on the same page of what you want, and you want to manage those expectations of your child, if you guys can work as a team even when you're not together, that's going to be helpful. I mean, you don't want your kid to learn that like mom has no authority. She has to call dad every time I'm naughty. But Sometimes you need them to know that like you're in the same trouble here as you're going to be at your other house, you know. We're working this together. So I think it's beneficial for any caregivers, whether they be child care providers or your child's in school, multiple parents, grandparents, whoever's helping raise your child. You need to be kind of on the same page and be able to support one another. Because this stuff's hard. Like kids are not easy. Like even if you have an easy kid, they're not easy. Sometimes we're navigating things we never in a million years thought we would have to navigate. And I don't think there's anything wrong with not knowing what to do. And being able to reflect when we do things that we, after the fact, are like, gosh, I didn't handle that well. So I want you to think about, so my question to you guys is, how many of you are aware that you have these different tones? Which one is most prevalent in your parenting techniques? Which one do you have a good reaction from, and which one do you have a bad reaction from? And what kind of reactions would you like? I think we all want our kids to comply with the least fight. It's not fun fighting with our kids. I am so emotionally drained fighting with a 5-year-old. Like, it's just, and I should know better. I should not be fighting with a 5-year-old. I should be assertive, and he knows that that's what's happening. And that's being consistent and reliable, and they learn just to follow that. And we have to set that example, because once our kids are in school and with other caregivers, we don't want them pushing all those boundaries all the time. So this being assertive is a really great way to get what we want done, to get our message across, our children not to fear us, our children to respect us. And it actually takes a lot less energy. When I'm being passive, I feel like it's this constant, like I'm chasing a burning flame, trying to make sure it's not going to blow up anywhere, right? And eventually it does, because when our children are emotional, like it's going to go somewhere. When I'm angry, I hate when I've been aggressive, because it feels disgusting. I do not like my child fearing me. I hate that I let myself get that upset. I feel out of control. I feel horrible about my parenting technique, and I just feel gross, and then I have to apologize. And some of you might not, but I do, and I feel like that's counterproductive as a parent too. We always can backpedal and apologize, but if we're doing that all of the time, like, what kind of example are we setting for our kids, that they can blow up and just say sorry and go on? No, because they're going to learn that and continue to do it in all their relationships, and we don't want that. So this being assertive, it's like a game changer. Like, I think you'll really find it helpful. So, is this a tone you would prefer to use? Wouldn't it be nice just to, okay, I'm going to breathe through this. I got this. Aiden, I need you to put down the crayons and put them in your box and go wash your hands. Okay, that's closer, not great. So I was really on the verge of wanting to say, don't color on the wall, right? Because that's the example I'm trying to give you guys. So we don't want to use the action verb being what we want them to stop doing. What we want to do is tell them what we want them to do. So we need to focus on what we want them to do. So let's say Aiden is riding his bike without his helmet. I wouldn't say, you can't ride your bike without a helmet on. I would say, Aiden, you need to put your helmet on. You know that that's how we ride our bikes, and that's how we're safe. And he'd be like, yes, Mom, I know. But if I threatened him, he would just be upset. If I'm passive, he'd be like, I think I'm going to ride without. Because my little guy, I love to think he's a sweet little angel, but sometimes he chooses to do things despite knowing that they're the wrong thing. And if you are not assertive with him, he will choose the wrong thing. So you can see where this being assertive would be helpful. So remember to breathe. So we've taught the kids our deep breathing, active calming, and I feel like breathing is the easiest thing to do. You can always breathe. You're breathing to live, you're breathing to talk, being a little mindful, getting out of the survival state, getting out of the emotional state. And now we're into the executive state, and we can start problem solving. So we can use the words and the tone with intention. So even if we don't even know that we're going to be assertive, we know we don't want to be aggressive or passive. So we're going to take some deep breaths because we have this visceral urge to correct whatever's going on. And now we're scared and upset and angry. And then we don't have to be any of that. We can just deal with what's happening and talk to them in a way that they need to be talked to. They're developing. They can't think all the time with executive state functioning. We can access that part of our brain so much easier because it's fully developed, and we can retrain it if we tend to stay down in here, and that's okay. So we just want to reflect. Like each time you guys have an interaction with your child, I want you to think, was that passive? Was that aggressive? Or was I assertive? Because I guarantee you're going to find the best results out of being assertive. You're going to have way more compliance, and it's going to be less dramatic in your home, either for you or your child. Because I feel like aggressive starts with you, and then they're really dramatic, and being passive starts with you. It becomes them again of being dramatic. So, and then it can create a circle that we're just in this circle of emotions at that point, which is not helpful for anybody. Like you can't get out the door when you're trying to leave. You can't get ready for bedtime. Like there's just all this emotional stuff happening, right? Like we need to cook dinner, and now somebody ran through the house and he shouldn't have been running through the house, and he's tripped over the dog and now he's bleeding, and like these are real life experiences, people. So I want you to really, really think about this and try being assertive, because I think you can do it. I think you'll like it, and I think you'll want to do it more, which once you want it more because you see the results, you're going to actively try more. Will you slip a few times? Yes, we're humans. I don't think anybody can be that perfect all the time. If there's somebody that is, I would love to meet them. I know a few people that I swear they are saints, because I only have one child, and some of this is hard, and people with multiple children, I'm just like, wow, how do you have the energy to like stay that calm all the time and stay that collected? And everybody's different. So give yourself some grace. Don't worry if you get it wrong. Just keep trying. Just kind of watch your tone and see how it comes out. And we always can reflect and watch our children's reactions. So you guys have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications for new uploads. We will talk to you again soon. Thanks.